Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction, and so true. What I'd like to start with is a glimpse of some of the animal action that we deal with on a daily basis. So if you could run that film.
Scene 73, Mark.
So, no animals were harmed. It's become part of the vernacular of filmmaking, and yet it is a certification that can only be awarded by American Humane Association when a production satisfies the very rigorous criteria by the standards of our program. So hopefully today I'll give you a glimpse of how we do our work. For over 135 years, American Humane Association has been one of America's leading voices for the protection of children and animals, and the only one devoted to this unique dual mission and the power of the human-animal bond. Our programs are built on measurable outcomes and innovative solutions rooted in science. As national director of the program, I've been there for close to 20 years now. And in that time, the program and our protocols has really advanced significantly. But then so has the film industry, technology, science, and the awareness of animal issues. We have made significant positive impact on the welfare of performing animals. And yet we acknowledge that moving into the future, there are pretty significant challenges to come. Beginning in 1940, our mission continues today, and that is to ensure that all animals that are appearing in film and television are treated humanely, and that's from insects to elephants. We don't discriminate. We acknowledge that live animals are being used in entertainment and will continue to be used in film entertainment. So we celebrate the special role that they play in our lives and in the stories. But we realize that historically, humans and non-human animals have shared this planet, so inevitably, they are going to be part of the stories that filmmakers tell. And our mission is to be there to watch this interaction with their trainers, the cast and crew, and then later see the impact on the audiences. Regardless of the debate inherent in the subject of animals in entertainment, American Humane Association focuses on the reality that they are on sets of thousands of productions worldwide every year. So as long as animals are working in film media, our focus is going to be to ensure their well-being in that unique environment. We take the No Animals Were Harmed certification very, very seriously, and will only award the credit if an American Humane certified animal safety representative is actually present on the set during production documenting the care of the animals. Sometimes we do have to step in and stop production. That's when we're annoying. Most of the time, however, we're lucky enough to see the magic that happens between the trainers and and the animals when there is that special bond. Animals have been part of cinematography from the earliest days. What began in 1878 with Edward Muybridge's sequential moving image of a horse for scientific study has burgeoned into a thriving entertainment business that's given birth to animal heroes like Rover and Rin Tin Tin. As early as 1925, American Humane was concerned about the use of animals in this new entertainment medium and formed a review committee. Unfortunately, the early days for animals in film were not terrifically good. Not everybody received a star treatment. In fact, in the 1925 production of Ben-Hur, the race sequence alone cost the lives of 100 horses. In 1938, during the filming of Charge of the Light Brigade, 25 horses were pit-tripped and either died instantly or had to be euthanized. Errol Flynn, who was the star of that film, was one of the very first celebrities to speak out against animal cruelty in the film industry. Then in 1939, during the filming of Jesse James with Tyrone Power and Henry Fonda, a tilt chute was employed to plummet a horse off a 70-foot cliff. The horse lost his life, and the stuntman lost his hat. American Humane Association led a national outcry, and that launched our work protecting animals during film production. We opened our offices in Hollywood in 1940 with jurisdiction from the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors Association, and we were also part of what was known as the Hays Code, and that was the industry regulatory board which set moral guidelines for the industry. No kiss could be more than 10 seconds, married couples had to appear in twin beds, and animals needed to be treated humanely during production. We have issued the famous No Animals Were Harmed certification since 1972, and today that certification is actually internationally recognized. The Hays Code was disbanded actually in 1966, and American Humane lost some of its jurisdictional clout. We think of the years 1966 to 1980 as particularly dark days for animals in Hollywood. Stylistically, raw reality was in vogue. Finally, in 1980, American Humane protested the inhumane treatment of animals during the production of Heaven's Gate. In that film, cattle were killed, there was real cockfighting, and a horse was killed when it was blown up with dynamite. This led to our being included in the Screen Actors Guild collective bargaining contract and regained our jurisdiction, which we hold today. So currently, we monitor animals in over 2,000 productions a year. Animal performers have become internationally recognized stars, and although we've made great strides since 1940, we still have a long way to go. Film and television are global businesses with a myriad of exotic and oftentimes remote locations that reflect divergent attitudes toward animals and their treatment. This promotion of ever-increasing film communities, awareness of animal issues, reality television, animal-centric cable channels, productions for the internet, and a global audience that demands bigger, faster, louder, and more startling images every day has created an enormous marketplace for film production, animal-centric films, and new challenges to animal protection. Animal audiences are growing, and they will continue to grow because there are more pet owners today than ever before in history. The demand is growing, so how do we keep up with this, and how do we do our work? We have three important factors to our program. One are the strict guidelines for the safe use of animals in filmed media, our on-set monitoring by knowledgeable, objective, trained safety representatives, and a certification that encourages the industry to cooperate. The program today includes 8 administrative staff, 8 full-time animal safety representatives, and approximately 29 part-time on-call representatives throughout the U.S., with an additional group of certified reps acting as monitors in key international locations such as Canada, New Zealand, and Sweden. All of our safety representatives travel extensively. Over the past several years alone, we've monitored films in the UK, Canada, Spain, Mexico, New Zealand, Thailand, Morocco, the Czech Republic, China, Iceland, Italy, and the Virgin Islands. Domestically, we have been in 43 out of 50 states and in Puerto Rico. Films such as the Harry Potter series, The Chronicles of Narnia, Batman, War Horse, Pirates of the Caribbean, the upcoming Life of Pi, and the much anticipated The Hobbit 1 and 2 all benefited from American Humane's vigilant oversight. And the key quality here, the ability to step in during production before animals are harmed. The staff has a combined 300 years of experience. We have a very high retention rate for our field personnel. And collectively, they reflect a real wealth of animal knowledge and experience. Many of them hold degrees in animal science, animal behavior, veterinary medicine. They've completed the Moore Park College Exotic Animal Training and Management Program, which is known as America's Teaching Zoo. And they are equine specialists, primatologists, and some are actually state humane officers, which gives them law enforcement authority. They are experienced problem solvers, and they act as the voice for animals, and believe me, they take that role very, very seriously. We monitor approximately 4,000 days of animal action every year, which is approximately 65% of what we know is going on. So the program needs to grow. Productions range from films to television series, commercials, music videos, and even internet-only productions. This translates to oversight of more than 100,000 animals per year. And this is a conservative estimate because on any day on set, on any individual production, we could have 3,000 beetles, a flock of birds, a herd of cattle, hundreds of horses in historic or Western dramas. And usually, for every lead animal, like a lassie, there are usually 5 backup animals. Everyday Lassie is on camera. In other words, there are like 5 animals on set. There'll be running Lassie and herding Lassie and glamour Lassie and dialogue Lassie, and you get the idea. But then we also deal with a lot of the unexpected. You know, we're told that they're going to have a fish in the background. We arrive on set and find that it is an 8 by 30-foot wall of fish aquariums housing hundreds of both saltwater and freshwater fish. Our guidelines for the safe use of animals in film media are the gold standard and the accepted standard in the industry. These guidelines are more stringent, actually, than any federal, state, or local animal welfare laws. They deal with everything from on-set housing to stunts, special effects, makeup, and species-specific issues. They're a living document, and they're updated very regularly based on science, animal behavioral studies, and new film technology, as well as our on-set experience. I think yesterday the fish feel pain paper was mentioned, and we took that into consideration, and in the 2009 update of our guidelines, we no longer condone the hooking of fish for the sake of entertainment. Now, if they want to do a fishing scene, they have to simulate it. Again, we're very annoying to them. We work in a creative industry, and so there are always new situations. No 2 shows are ever the same. And there are lots of factors that we have to consider, such as climate, the number of animals, the species, the terrain, the human interaction with them, including the individuality of the animal itself and the individual animal actor. So we examine all factors, beginning with our arrival on set. We then hold safety meetings in which we try to manage the expectations and the safety parameters for the cast and the crew, the trainers, the producers, etc. Special effects are particularly difficult. There are many, many factors, as you can see, everything from the practical to the chemical. And we try to address how all of this will interplay with the actual live animal that's present on the set, and also the expectation and vision of the filmmaker. Stunts are also difficult. However, on our watch, animals are never forced to do anything. When an animal shows signs of stress or disinterest, the animal is wrapped. To animals, their behaviors that they're asked to perform are actually play. They're trained behaviors. These animals do not know they are movie stars. Some are toy-driven, some are food-driven, some like praise. Famous Bart the bear loved applause. He loved to be told he was a good boy, Bart, and then he liked a Coca-Cola. But the best professional trainers working today, the mantra is really reward and repeat. That's becoming the acceptable method of training. Technology has afforded creative filmmakers the ability to really push the boundaries as never before. And it's enabling them to tell stories that would never have been possible several years ago. In the Rum Diaries, they vividly depict cockfighting that was all choreographed and not real at all. And in the upcoming Life of Pi, they are showing the survival of a tiger and a boy adrift on the same lifeboat. However, technology also has a downside. Although no live animals may be harmed, in some cases the end result may depict a more graphic and disturbing image than we are comfortable with. We call this perception versus reality. Interweaving the animatronics, computer-generated graphics, and a host of other technological enhancements with the performance of the live animals heightens the believability of the story. However, it then becomes more critical for the public and for American Humane to note where those enhancements begin and the work of the live animal performer ends. In Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, the cow that was hit by a car was completely computer generated, but that was then integrated into the live action animals that were crossing the road and filmed crossing the road. In Avatar, all of the horse action was done with motion capture of real horses before they became enhanced into dire horses. But this is where the comprehensive reporting for our reps is so imperative. The horse breakdown scene in the film Dreamer took over 2 weeks to film and equates to about a minute of time on the screen. The live horses were trained to interact with an animatronic horse that was on a dolly and actually took the fall. And they also had a trained lay-down horse to depict the injured animal. So this conditioning over time kept the live animals from being afraid of the animatronic horse in its presence. So it was a pretty horrific scene, which brings us to content. American Humane refrains from commenting on content. In fact, the more violent or controversial an animal scene might appear, the more important it is for a certified animal safety representative to be present to document how the live animals are treated. Things like dogfighting, cockfighting, among other practices involving animals, may be integral to a filmmaker's vision, but they must be simulated by our standards for the sake of filmed entertainment. So what is offensive or counterproductive to one group may be part of the realities on which the filmmaker is commenting. It speaks to animals in art as well. Our mission, however, is to be the objective professional witness to the treatment of the live animals. We process over 3,000 scripts in a year, and we start by identifying what animals will work and what they will be expected to do. We evaluate the action on a scale of intensity. So in other words, is the animal going A to B, or is the animal going A to B through a burning barn? We work in pre-production with the trainers to observe training and the complexity of the behaviors and the stunts that will be expected during production. Sometimes we have weeks or months to work with a filmmaker before the cameras roll. Sometimes we have hours, maybe only minutes. With animals becoming such an integral part of family life and animal-centric television programming piquing interests in animals, advertisers know that animals will grab the attention, family dramas will necessitate a pet, and horses are particularly prevalent. Historically, horses have been man's transportation, war machines, farm equipment, athletic champions, companions, pets, and mythic icons. Horses actually brought American Humane into the film business, and they currently remain the most at-risk animal working today. This is partly because of the horse's history and partly because of the nature and physical structure of the horse. Horses are fragile. In the film War Horse, it most recently pointed out the horrific cost in equine life during World War I. 8 million horses died as a result of mechanized warfare. So American Humane actually formed the Red Star Disaster Relief Program during World War I, and we became the Red Cross for Animals and continue that role today. So that film was very complex to do, and as graphic as the depiction of the horse's plight was, we were on set for months, advising and ensuring that all of the stunts and action were choreographed and completed safely. The computer graphic elements in the scene where the horse is actually trapped in the barbed wire took many digital artists 5 months of work in the computer. It took an animatronic horse. It took the creation of rubber propped barbed wire and one very well-trained horse. Our track record for safety is actually stellar. We have a 99.98 safety record with animals and a 99.96% record when cast and crew are involved. And this is because we wish actors would learn to ride. However, even with the best safety in place, accidents do happen. In the last 3 years, monitoring over 300,000 animals, we have recorded 34 incidents of accidental deaths, 4 incidents involving horses. The others involved about 25 fish that died prior to our arriving on set because the tanks were so poorly maintained. A frog was killed when an actor dropped a bowl on it. A giraffe died during zookeeper of natural causes in its enclosure off the set. We had a film where a goat arrived on set ill. The rep called for a veterinarian who treated the animal for pneumonia. Sadly, the animal died in veterinary care and never made it into the production. But clearly, it's the horses that received the most public scrutiny. The most recent and the most publicized incidents involve 3 thoroughbreds that died over a 2-year period during the production of the HBO series Luck. This was actually unprecedented for our program. Luck dramatized the world of American horse racing, and it included a scripted race in every one of the 8 episodes filmed, much more than any racing in any film such as Secretariat or Seabiscuit. Over 50 horses were used, and they were supplied by a racetrack trainer. It was an unusual show, since the horses were primarily race horses and not the preferred movie horses that American Humane recommends. What's the difference? Well, movie horses are exposed to a variety of stimuli over time. They're conditioned and they're desensitized. They're less reactive, more controllable, and therefore safer to themselves and everyone else when they're on the set. So although they may run, they do not race. For the show, horses were allowed to only run partial lengths of the track, run at slower speeds than real racing, and each horse was only allowed 2 runs per day. Each horse was given a soundness check at the top of each workday and by several on-set veterinarians. But in spite of these precautions, 2 horses experienced breakdowns and had to be euthanized. These accidents happened a year apart. The 3rd horse died in a freak accident in the stabling area during the filming of the 2nd season, 9 months after the 2nd horse. After the 2nd horse died, American Humane demanded production cease until a full investigation was conducted and our safety demands were met. HBO complied. 51 additional safety protocols were put into place on top of our guidelines, and they included things like radiographing all of the legs of all of the horses to be used, whereby we pulled a great many horses who were not allowed after that to run in any subsequent episodes. We had additional veterinarians on set, full medical records, and soundness checks at the top of every day of work and every week. All 3 accidents were investigated by one of our state humane officers, and the findings were shared with law enforcement authorities. We found no evidence of criminal activity. However, There is a world of difference between the standards in the U.S. horse racing industry and American Humane Association guidelines. Because of these incidents, we expanded our protocols, adding the 51 new guidelines specific to the use of racehorses, and HBO canceled the show. Thank you. Any incident involving an animal that causes injury and/or death has led to extensive examination of our protocols and updated guidelines. However, there are challenges. Although we state that only animals fit to do the work requested should be used and professional movie trainers employed, American Humane Association does not make those hiring decisions. The film and television industry is witnessing extensive growth, and they're in the throes of trying to define a whole new business model. This is making the bottom line, cost, a determining factor in who supplies the animals and the levels of training for both the suppliers and the animals. Rather than trained movie animals, filmmakers are opting for local suppliers and animals that may or may not be fit for performance. We see personal pets, including wild and exotic personal pets. Prop departments bring small pets and fish onto the set without knowing how to properly care for them. Or they hire extras who bring in their personal pets that range from dogs to snakes. For a small incremental daily fee, these extras are happy to even go to a pet shop and buy a pet for a day in order to get onto the movie set. We often don't have a chance to intervene until we arrive on the set, and then we can actively make changes and correct these situations. Our power is that we can stop production. We pull animals from the set, we demand veterinary care, and ultimately, we withhold the certification no animals were harmed. We awarded 558 certifications last year, but we also denied 131, approximately 23%. Our reviews of films document our work and are available on our website with full disclosure of why a film does not receive an end credit. When we arrived on the set of Men in Black 3D, there were 4 large aquariums with a range of exotic fish that were either dead, dying, or sick. The representative insisted on a complete overhaul of the aquarium system. We called in an aquatic veterinarian. We treated all the sick fish in hospital tanks, and those fish that weren't dead did recover. No additional fish died. However, the film received an unacceptable rating, and it did not receive the full certification. We can never determine whether a film will receive a certification until production is completed. The film is screened, and all the reports from the set are reviewed. It cannot be awarded if American Humane is not present and accountable for those words. It is a registered trademark, and so there is specific criteria that must be met to be eligible to use it. The truth is, our oversight is highly effective, and we continue to evolve. Although we have had many advisors over the years, we're in the process of forming a scientific advisory committee to do the next review of our guidelines in concert with the program experts. The animal welfare space is leaning toward a more scientific approach to welfare and ethics, and the guidelines will continue to reflect this progress. The use of exotic animals is also a controversial subject. We're interested in expanding the program by convening an entertainment industry summit on the training and care of animals. Through the summit, we expect to develop realistic training guidelines, a certification program for animal trainers, and a retirement plan for animal actors. Although there may be humanely trained exotic animals, the questions of acquisition, private exotic pet ownership, good captive care, training methods, regulation, the world animal conservation issues, these cannot be isolated from the use of animals in film media. What we have successfully accomplished with the oversight of animals during production needs to progress and expand to include offset care and the disposition after a career has come to an end. International filming has demonstrated that tripping horses or the use of pellet guns can happen on foreign film locations where standards do not exist. We are aware that there's interest in having American Humane share its experience with burgeoning international film communities, and we seek to collaborate with them. Let's face it, we are a global audience, and we must strive to be a global, humane community. As film reaches out and creates entertainment without borders, we hope that it sends a message that it's just not cool to be cruel. Through program expansion into humane training and expanded international oversight, we hope to see animals enrich filmed media for generations to come, no matter where filming occurs. The human-animal bond is an important life connection, and what we learn from animals, from their stories, their inclusion in our lives and our stories, can hopefully encourage compassion that spills off the screen and into our lives and theirs. As John Turteltaub, director of National Treasure and the Sorcerer's Apprentice, has said, "Nothing should be harmed to make a movie. It's a movie. Nothing should be hurt. Nothing should be killed." So thank you, and I hope you stay through final credits when you go to the movies to see if no animals were harmed.